This is Rudy.
This is Flick.
And this week we are talking solo Beatles. We are talking solo Beatles, however, during a very interesting week in human history. When we picked this title, or picked this show title, I don't think we knew things were going to get quite as bad as they have. But I think we have this general theme where we want to remain uplifting, and we both love the solo Beatles catalog. So while the world may be nihilism-inducing around us, we're going to try to stay positive and stick with a topic where we can genuinely talk about something we love, and that is solo Beatles.
Yeah, something we both really love, and will be properly socially distanced, not in the same room, not even in the same state.
Not even the same time zone, sir. Not even the same time zone.
Different time zones. We are in the same country, but that's as much as we're invading each other's territory.
We will talk about that and talk about some music news as well when we come back next.
All right, here's one you may well know, you may not know it, and if you don't know it, I really don't know where you've been.
You forgot? Forgot the magnetism of Robin Zander or the charisma of Rick Nielsen?
That's kid stuff.
It's just come up to 5:35 a.m. Kommen Sie bitte und listen to Kraftwerk.
I don't know, man. I kind of like Van Halen.
Well, yeah, Plum, you do. And you know why you do? Because corporate America is shoving something down your throat and making you believe it because that's what they want you to believe. I mean...
Okay, buddy. I was just trying to cheer us up, so go ahead. Put on some old sad bastard music, see if I care.
That was Big Yellow Taxi by Joni Mitchell, a song in which Joni complains that they paved Paradise to put up a parking lot. A measure which actually would have alleviated traffic congestion on the outskirts of Paradise, something which Joni singularly fails to point out, perhaps because it doesn't quite fit in with her blinkered view of the world. Nevertheless, nice song.
How about the tunes? I want you to want me. The Dream Police. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Your mama's alright. Your daddy's alright.
I get by because the people make a special effort to shop here. Mostly young men who spend all their time looking for deleted Smith singles and original, not re-released underline Frank Zappa albums.
Gang. Yes. I mean, look. You can play an E pentatonic scale at 100 miles an hour till somebody's ears burn off. You can learn that, right? But finding the tangents within the framework, therein lies the artistry, man.
God made your ears. You didn't make them. You gonna argue with God's ears? If it sound good and it feel good, then it's musical. So play it like I say play it. From the top.
That was Sweating Lunatic Iggy Pop, part of our Tuesday night punk pack, which is climaxing at midnight with Madness. This is Norfolk Nights with Alan Partridge, and we're in the middle of Super Talk. Super Talk!
All right, so welcome to episode 27 of Left of the Dial. Later on, we are going to be drafting Beatles solo songs, our Beatles solo fantasy draft, and it's our second edition of the fantasy draft. A while back we drafted Fleetwood Mac songs.
It's our double fantasy draft.
It is.
Did you see what I did there?
I'm on to you. Yes.
We didn't include Yoko Ono. She's not eligible, even though the album Double Fantasy is. I do want to hurry and get to the Beatles stuff, but before we do that, I want to throw out I'm a Yoko Ono fan, and I don't like her being dissed. She's way underrated, so I just want to throw that out first. And then two, we probably need to take a moment here to talk about the death of Kenny Rogers. I think most people think of Kenny Rogers in the song "The Gambler," which is, I'm one of the words that I hear the young people saying around the office and I see on the internet. One of the old words that I've seen come back that I enjoy the most is the word corny. Corny is really a fantastic descriptor for what I think most of Kenny Rogers, like a song like The Gambler, is literally just corny. But I don't know. I understand why everybody loves it. So like, as much as I can't, I don't think you can refer to The Gambler as great art. Like, it's what George Orwell would call good bad art. It's like popular art that doesn't necessarily meet the capital A art threshold, but is like within its own genre. It makes people have all the feels and all that stuff. So I have to respect his like ability to deliver a performance of that song. That song was a cover, I think. I think it had already been recorded by other people. So like, I just don't want to diss him, even though I didn't like most of his music. I did love the song Daytime Friends. I still do. I still listen to that song a lot. And perhaps more importantly for me, Kenny Rogers is the first live performer I ever saw. And I talked to my parents about this, and I may have the year wrong. It was either 1979 or 1980 at the Milwaukee County Fair in Wisconsin, where Kenny Rogers opened up for Dolly Parton. So the Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton double bill. That's my first ever concert. My mother loved the Dolly TV show, which I wish was on TV. They showed the old Porter Wagner crap on what's that farm channel on Dish, the Orion Samuelson TV channel. They show the old Porter Wagner shows. Those are great. I love for the Dolly Parton part. The Porter Wagner stuff's a lot of cheesy crap, and all the guests are mostly cheesy crap. Great nudie suits, though, man. Great nudie suits. I don't think Kenny Rogers wore any damn nudie suits. He could afford them. He had his chicken chain. Did you ever eat at the Kenny Rogers restaurant, Flick?
No, I don't know that I've ever seen one.
I saw one the only one I ever saw in person was in Manhattan, New York, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, who in Manhattan, first of all, knows even who Kenny Rogers is, let alone wants to eat his chicken for some reason? Like, who the hell cares about a Kenny Rogers chicken recipe?
That played a big part in a well-known episode of Seinfeld. I don't know if you
Indeed. I heard that. I'm not a Seinfeld fan, so I've never seen it, but yeah, I've heard that episode was famous. So anyway, it's sad for me that he's passed away, because while I thought he was crass and overly, I don't know, I just felt he was corny, and just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. I think was corny. I just find it was all like just corny, and but boy, that first concert really. Like, that was the first time I saw like a star, like a real star that I'd seen on TV. And so I think a lot of my personality can be explained by the fact that my first concept of looking up at somebody as a backlit dream is Kenny Rogers. It explains a lot, actually, about me. But
well, and the second one was Dolly Parton.
Yeah, Dolly Parton was great. Incredible songwriter, incredible performer, always underrated. Although I think finally people are starting to see. I mean, people try to smirk about doing covers of Jolene, but Jolene is an amazing song. Come on.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's a good song.
Yeah, Tennessee Mountain Home is great. Coat of Many Colors is great. Down from Dover is great. She had so many great songs. Anyway, I hope the Kenny Rogers or the Dolly Parton show ends up on that RFD channel one day. God, I love the music on the RFD channel. I love the polka show from like Minnesota. It's great. That's great. Sorry, I'm really already completely off the rails here.
You're sidebarring. You're sidebarring your own eulogy there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to let it all go, other than to highly recommend the Orion Samuelson TV channel on Dish, especially on the weekends when the polka party is on. That rocks hard, and they get good like Tejano polkas too, which is it's fantastic. And it, of course, it's a lot of Minnesota. I know you're fond of, so I'm just recommending for you too. There's something in it for you too.
Yeah, fond
Minnesota
of
polkas.
The land. Well, yeah, Minnesota and Tejano. It's like up and down I-35.
Yeah, that would be a fun road trip. That I'm down for when all this is over. We should probably talk about all this a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, we are living in crazy days for sure. So I should mention right off the top that we are socially distanced and always have been socially distanced since September of 2019. We have we've never even done the show in the same state. We've done the same. We've done the show in neighboring states, I believe, once,
Yeah,
perhaps, right?
once. Yeah. I've
And
almost always done from New Jersey or Illinois, but I'm in North Carolina. I I had to get out of New York City, and I haven't actually been in New York City itself in 2 weeks. Sort of self quarantined pretty early. I basically went home to New Jersey and locked myself in my apartment until the coast was clear to get out. This the corona can take up to 21 days to manifest itself. So I've got weeks and weeks before I'm not going to be freaking out. It's just terrible, just
right,
freak
yeah,
out and terrible.
yeah, and I've basically been home for a couple of weeks without, uh, ru- yeah, I mean, it's been, I think about 17, 18 days. Well, the Black Lips concert, I think, was the last time that I really went anywhere. So it has been a while. Yeah, and we're writing this out and staying socially distanced. But as far as us two, we've been socially distanced before that was really a thing. But yeah, I mean, in general, just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah. You never know, man. Life is very, very precious. Like, take life seriously, don't take yourself seriously, I think would probably be the way I've come to feel about it, which is like at this point, there's really not a lot I can do other than just wait it out like everybody else. If I somehow came in contact with already, like there's not a lot I can do. How much freaking out can you do?
Yeah, I mean, you have to live your life, but you also do what you can to protect it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a terrible time, and we've never really been political on the show. I don't want to start now per se, but I hope this represents a break with some really unpleasant parts of our economic life in this country, and I hope this ends in the essential people, the people right now who are literally risking their lives to deliver food and mail and all the other, man the pharmacy and continue to do all the essential things. Many of those people are doing that out of total economic desperation. They're like literally dangled above the abyss, and you can find people very pliable when they're desperate. And I am hoping that this is not a thing of desperation, but that like a point of empowerment, and that the people who provide these essential services use this as an occasion to get the decent treatment that a decent society should already have given them. It's
Right.
really
Yeah.
bothered me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, and especially I think healthcare workers across the board, that are helping with this, I think deserve heroes recognition, for doing what they do in light of horrible circumstances, where they are dealing with shortages of uh, protective equipment and
Mm-hmm.
and that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, definitely definitely a lot of time should be spent um, considering what they go through.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to hear any shit when this is over that the internet isn't necessary. Everybody in America needs to have good internet in their home, so these children can go to school virtually if they have to. I don't think anybody believes this is the last pandemic. Like, millions of people in America had to go home and hear the door close behind them, and they ain't got shit in their house. Nobody cares that they ain't got shit in their house. They didn't make a run to Costco's. They don't have a car. You can't bring home a giant brick of toilet paper on the bus. And many of these people, you hear from the government over and over how much they care, and the politicians, not the government, the politicians, how they care, and they want to make sure everybody gets taken care of. How many million of us, how many millions of us, when the door closed behind us, didn't have what they needed, had no idea where what they needed was going to come from, no plan, no nothing. Like, you can't. It's not a country then if you do that. Like, if we're willing to allow other people, our own people, to go home and experience that. That's a bad on all of us. Like we cannot go back to the old shit. We cannot. We just can't. We can't. And watching every single time we need money for healthcare or whatever, it's how are you going to pay for it? But when Wall Street when they need trillions just literally shot out of a money cannon at them, no one ever asks how you're going to pay for it. This has to be the last time we put up with that shit too.
Yeah.
I'm just not to get political. Here ends the lecture.
Right.
You can come to my TED Talk later, I guess.
Right. Yeah. No, I fully agree with that, and we do. I mean, I'm not saying I do, but it is. You often hear, complaints about handouts going to when it goes to people that really need it, but when it goes to Boeing or the cruise industry, you don't hear enough complaining about that. I'll just say.
Yeah, nationalize all that shit. Anyway,
Yeah.
here ends the lecture. Now, I realize there are folks we have who may listen who are politically not aligned with us, and I apologize that you had to hear my politics. I will keep it to myself on a go forward basis because we want to talk about music primarily. But I mean, Flick, wouldn't it be weird if we didn't mention it? We're recording on the 25th of March. This has been the reason I couldn't record earlier is I was literally trying to figure out how to get out of New York and ended up driving all night when we should have been recording. So I apologize for the delay, but it would just be weird to be in this situation, not talk about it at all.
Yeah, right. No, we definitely need to mention it. But yeah, like we did on the last show, our last show was about songs to bring us out of the gloom, and we want to stay with that as well. We want to today we're drafting Beatles solo songs. Really not much to bring down in the Beatles solo catalog, so it's another way of keeping it positive.
Yeah, I would agree with you. We've avoided talking about the Beatles in depth so far, which is fine. I'm surprised we haven't really gone into a lot of our bigger. We did Big Star a little bit, but we haven't done a ton of Neil Young. We haven't talked Public Enemy yet.
No.
And Rolling Stones, another one I don't think we've been too heavy on, or The Who. And I think between us, you and I, we love those bands. And
yeah, I mean, there's probably a good 30 bands that we both love that that we haven't spent a lot of time with yet, but we'll get we'll get our turn. They'll get their turn, and
I'm happy. This is I think this is the first time we've devoted an episode to one of the Mount Rushmore. The way I always think of it is the United States always produced better solo acts, and Britain always produced better bands. I think there's not really any room for debate that the Beatles were the greatest band of all time, and the only real competition they have is primarily British. You know what I mean? Like there's something about the band dynamic in Britain, and so doing the solo stuff is a bit. I think almost sort of plays against brand, at least the way I think of it. And in a way, it's a little harder than starting with the Beatles catalog because you can say every Beatles album is a winner. Every one of them is a winner. Right. Every one of them, I'll even say that the original Yellow Submarine with all the George Martin music on the back is still got enough on it to be like, that's an album you have to hear. You have to hear that album. So going into the solo records, you can't say the same. You can't say that they're all winners. And in fact, you can say that some of the solo Beatles careers are lucky to be 50-50, I'd say. Lucky to be 50-50. Do you think I'm too far off on that one?
No, probably not. Probably not. It's definitely full of duds here and there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a lot of great stuff, and actually probably a lot of albums that I think are underrated. So,
wow,
yeah.
Whole albums. All right, well, let's make sure the rules took some work here, because it's the Beatles solo catalog has a kind of an interesting dynamic to it that I think we had to have some pretty firm rules to make this a real test, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
You give the rules.
Okay, so the rules are in no particular order. Okay, so we decided we are going to draft 6 songs from each John, Paul, and George, and only 2 from Ringo. I know that is a slight on Ringo, but them's the rules. And we didn't come to those rules slightly. Speaking of Ringo, this wasn't set up to make Ringo look bad. It just happens that way, I guess. There is a minimum of 1 Ringo songwriting credit required for each of us in this draft.
Yeah. And let's say, I think I go first, but I'm willing to do a coin flip because this one matters.
Okay, well, I'm not done with the rules yet.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead.
So a live version of a song, just like in the Fleetwood Mac draft, counts toward the original studio album. So if you take a song from All Things Must Pass that George did on the Concert for Bangladesh, it will count toward All Things Must Pass. By that token, there are no solo versions of Beatles songs. So George performed something on the Concert for Bangladesh, not eligible for this draft. No solo versions of Beatles songs.
Whereas All Things Must Pass, the song was attempted as a Beatles song, but not released as a Beatles song until long after it was released as a George solo record. So All Things Must Pass counted as George.
That counts as a George song, yes.
Got it. Yep.
Okay, and there can only be a maximum of 2 songs from any single album by any of the solo Beatles. So, did I explain that one well enough, or does that?
Yeah. No, I got it. I'm sorry. I'm just raring to go. What can I say?
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm thrilled.
So I think that covers it. I think we got that taken care of. So that.
Yep. So you have, I believe, on our happiness draft last week, or our lust for life, I believe you went first, which would mean it would be my turn, right?
Well, so going first doesn't have anything to do with last week. It would have to do with our last draft, which was the Fleetwood Mac draft, and I think I probably drafted first in that. I'm not 100%, but yeah,
I'll flip you for it if you don't feel it's mine.
I think I probably did go first because I remember I got Go Your Own Way and then I got The Chain. So that was probably the product of having the first pick.
Indeed. All right. Well, I have to do this because it's the only way I think I put a complete product together is I have to take Ringo Starr's Photograph first.
I was wondering when that would happen.
Yeah, it has to be because everything else, the only way to really get tripped up here is to get caught with a Ringo dud. And I think there's a very small number of Ringo songs that are universally not considered duds. So Photograph to me is about as good as he got, solo-wise.
Yeah, you got the best Ringo solo song, for sure.
And I'm willing to give up what I know I have to. It was too important. I really do love the song Photograph, and I really do listen to it still just regularly. And I also really like Camper Van Beethoven's cover of it. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
So there we go. As long as I get Ringo's Photograph, it's smooth sailing from here. I take it. Yay.
Yeah. Okay. I would have picked it early for sure. You got the best Ringo song, but you did pay a hefty price for it.
Okay. Okay. Is it because I gave up first crack at George Harrison albums other than All Things Must Pass?
Well, I am just going to go for what happens to be my favorite song in the Beatles solo run, right. And Run is the ultimate optimum word there. I'm gonna go with Band on the Run for my first pick.
Yeah, I wondered. All right, well, that changes a lot for me. My Paul strategy does involve the depth on that album, so I have nothing but admiration for your pick here. It is, while I am not pro Paul to the degree that many are. It's a masterpiece. It was on an album that is a masterpiece during a stretch of his, like, he had a run as a solo artist in which he approached Beatles level quality production there for a brief span. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't super long span, but boy, you picked the gem of it for sure.
Yeah, I had to, and to that end, with um, Paul's backers that he has now. I was with Paul through the lean times, and believe me, people, there were some very lean times with Paul that people were very down on him, and I think finally getting his due.
I'm willing to do an all Paul fantasy draft because I actually think I draw from part of the era that you would consider the dark age for him. Um, or maybe I'm making too many assumptions. I actually like his solo record. I think it was McCartney too. Like that's an album people pan. I don't think that's a bad record at all. Um, some of that '80s stuff of his is actually pretty good, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, there are some lean times as far as that go, but what I actually meant with lean times was, there was a very long period, seems like almost my whole life, where people just didn't give Paul his credit as a solo artist, but also even as a Beatle. Um, he was, for most people, the argument was always that John was the only one that mattered really for, and I had many arguments. Then eventually the tide turned, and people started realizing that they were equals in most ways. So
this is a really hard one because I'm one of the people who've argued this with you.
right.
And I am definitely pro John and pro Paul, or sorry, pro George and pro John more than I am pro Paul. But Paul McCartney is one of the greatest songwriters in the history of human beings, and
Mm-hmm.
his record of producing masterpieces is pretty much unequaled in the world. So any slight I have of him is only compared to the like giant of giants like John Lennon and George and Bob Dylan and all that stuff. So like he's a peer of all the greatest. I should have just said that. Anybody who argues that with you could not also argue that he isn't at least the peer of the people other people prefer. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's preference to Paul isn't also Paul's peer. I would definitely say that.
That was almost a tongue twister.
It was. I'm trying to give as much props to Paul in light of my agreement with you as I can, but don't push it. All right. Great choice, great song, great album. What am I gonna do? I gotta take "Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth" from "Living in the Material World" by George Harrison next, and that means that I can now go get two from "All Things Must Pass," and no matter what you do, I'm still gonna get two quality Harrison cuts out of "All Things Must Pass," because I got what I of arguably his best solo song, not on "All Things Must Pass," would be "Give
Yeah, it
Me
was
Love,
another
Give Me
song.
Peace on Earth."
It was another song. I'll say more about this later, I think, but it was a song I had high up because yeah, it is one of his best from a stretch that wasn't as strong. But I'm not going to say too much more about it right now.
All right. Well, I think George Harrison was a beautiful human being, even though he did do some things in his life that are. He was a human being. I'll just, he wasn't perfect. He did things that any of us would rather not be associated with. But George Harrison was a genuinely kind soul and was a genius and was capable of writing some of the most beautiful things that we have to sing, now even. And I think this song is up there. So I don't need to say a ton more, but it is an amazing. It's like a hymn. It's as close to a hymn as like I think as he wrote, in my opinion, anyway. So, yay, I
Yeah.
got that one.
Okay. And it is a song I really would have liked to have had. Okay, so knowing that our strategies might be a bit similar, um, I'm gonna go the George Road too, because there is a stretch where things are kind of lean. Uh, yeah, because we do have to have. Let me see here. We have to have. Well, anyway, I'm just gonna move on to the pick. I'm gonna go all those years ago because there definitely isn't much else on somewhere in England that's any good.
You're kind of in the corner. I don't know. I don't know. You don't have many good choices there, to be
Yeah.
honest. If you're going off the board on George Harrison and the board being all things must pass, pretty lean picking, in my opinion.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
If you want to put it next to Band on the Run, it's pretty. You're narrowed it down. If you want to suggest that it's a George Harrison song that belongs on a playlist with Band on the Run, it can't just be any schmaltz.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
All right, I'd say that's a very defensible position. Not my favorite by him, but I got what I needed. So,
Yeah.
after this, I think my strategy I think it gets super easy. Those were the two that gave me the most fear. Just in case, I'm going to take "Let 'Em In" by Wings from so that way I don't get forced into having to pick. Do you know what? Can I change that or no? But did I? But do I own it because I said it?
I think you said it. It's
All right.
it's out
All
there.
right.
I don't mean to.
All right, that's fine. I'll eat it. I need something that's not on Band on the Run that is master level. And while this is one of the things that I don't like about Paul is making these just head bobber sing-alongs, it's brilliant. It's a beautiful sounding record too. Like it just sounds great. The snare thing at the end's probably a little overdone, but only like it's a testament to how good he is that he can do such over the top shit, and it hits like, and that little piano, just that beautiful intro. Like I don't know if Paul's like a great piano player or not, but boy, I sure do love his piano playing on a lot of his records, and there's just something really a gentle touch about his piano playing there that's really beautiful. So while I would rather have picked a different one now that I think about it strategically, I'm not ashamed. "Let 'Em In" by Wings, I think, is certainly the best thing on Speed of Sound.
Yeah. I in any case, Paul. I mean, one thing that even though people have argued with this with me, I don't buy into it in any way. Paul is, I think, by a good stretch, the strongest musician of any of the Beatles. By and like that's I'm not even saying that Paul is like my favorite. So I'm not I don't want to give the impression that I'm very Paul biased because I don't think I am. It's just that there were many years where I had to defend him a lot. And one thing I always made a point to defend him on is he is definitely the strongest musician of any of the Beatles. And I don't think that many people that would really have knowledge of what it takes to be a musician would give me much of an argument on that. But there'll be some people that will.
I can't argue it, although he is not the most creative player. He does have the most skill.
I think I might argue on that though too. I
George Harrison's creativity is it's
well.
George Harrison sounds mundane now because of how much of his shit got lifted.
Yeah, I do really appreciate George's slide playing a lot. But I think overall, Paul, if you look at Paul's bass lines and, like you said, his piano playing and things like that, and then his singing on top of that, because the voice is an instrument as well.
Okay, listen. This you're waving the red flag in front of the bull or bullshit, perhaps, as it may turn out. Like I have a pet theory about this, which is that Paul's best bass playing in the Beatles was on the
Okay, I know
songs
where.
John wrote. And if you listen to the
But
songs of
that's
his
not.
own,
Okay, that's not true.
it is
We've had
true.
this argument in the past. We've never had the argument where I can pull out records and say, "Look at this bass line," and so on. And we will have to settle that on another day because I can give you all kinds of bass lines that are not from John songs that are equals to them. So
Paul only plays lead bass when John sings lead vocals, and
it's
you can
not
print
true.
it.
It's not true, and I will prove it to you when we have a
All
chance
right.
to listen to music
Okay.
together.
All right.
It's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, it's my pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So going back to I'm staying with the same strategy for now, because there's a stretch of George albums where basically there's one standout song and then there truly is a lot of filler to many of these albums. One of those is Dark Horse, where I really like the title track and don't so much like the rest of the album. So I'm gonna take Dark Horse now because there isn't really anything else I'm gonna want to get saddled with from that album.
Interesting. Then I'm going to close out because all we need is three. Oh wait, no, that's not. I only needed two from Ringo. I need six. So you're right. You're forcing my hand here. This I don't remember exactly how we clarified this in the rules, but I believe during a previous discussion I was allowed to do this. I'm taking "Handle with Care" from Traveling Wilburys as a George song.
Okay. Yeah. No. We should have stated that in the rules, but that's allowable. Yes.
Yeah, I have to take that here because it basically means we each are down to we have to find at least one more George song that's not on All Things Must Pass. This is a brutal game. All right, I'm done. Your turn.
Okay, actually, we each have to have two more, because we have to do five different albums at least from each of the three.
Oh, this is a nightmare.
All right, so um, yeah, let me see here. Okay, so I'm going to take Mind Games next, with the same thing in mind. There isn't really anything else on Mind Games that I want. So I'm taking Mind Games with my fourth pick. That's my first John song.
Yeah, I better go start protecting some John here. I'm gonna take um, Mother from Plastic Ono Band.
Okay.
I consider that one of the bravest things ever. The guts it took to sing that song. Oh my god, I can't say enough. But yeah, that'll be my next pick. Oh, I
Okay.
gotta see where this goes. Go ahead.
All right, and let's see. I'm gonna go back to John. I'm gonna take number 9, Dream, because that's the song that I really want uh, from Walls and Bridges.
All right. I'm gonna take "Dark Sweet Lady" by George Harrison from the album George Harrison. It's not. It's a it's a defensive move. Like it's just you have no choice. I think just looking at what remains here, I had to take "Dark Sweet Lady" from the George's solo album from what year was that? 1979.
Yeah. All
It's
right.
not
So
bad. It
let's
has
see.
its moments.
Yeah. So we're both prescribing to the same strategy here. Okay. All right. So you took Handle with Care, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna get that off my board. Okay. All right. So I have 2 George, 2 John, and 1 Paul so far. Okay, and you took Let 'Em In.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see if there's something. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Thinking out loud right now.
Good. It means that that I'm not crazy, that this is this is difficult.
It is, but yeah, I'm thinking my way through it. Okay, so I am going to stay with John, and I'm going to take Instant Karma, which was a single.
Fuck. Oh, that hurts. That stings. That sucks. I mean, it sucks because it's a great song, and it's certainly in my top 5 for him. Um, you're forcing me to take another John here, and I wasn't going to go this route. But I realize you've already insulted this song, and I do need to go back and defend its honor, sir. I am taking, I am taking Whatever Gets You Through the Night from Walls and Bridges. Did I hear you say there was only one song we're taking on Walls and Bridges, and it wasn't
No,
Whatever Gets You Through the
no,
Night?
no. I said there's only one song that I wanted from Mind Games, and
Oh,
with
okay.
Walls and Bridges, what I said was Number 9 Dream was the song that I really want from that album.
Oh, okay. Well, it's
I
still
would
bad enough.
I would have accepted Whatever Gets You Through the Night, but I wanted Number 9 Dream. So in order to secure that one, I went ahead and took it.
All right, because if you were trying to diss Whatever Gets You Through the Night, I would have informed you that there was no future in your frontin', because that is not only is it, you know what? One of the things he was doing during that era, he was doing such great duets. That's an Elton John duet, and he had Fame with David Bowie. I think he did some shit with Nilsson too. He was doing some really interesting stuff with other people. I don't think people remember that quite the way it really was. He was really doing some interesting collaborations and shit.
Yeah, well, like the collaboration they had for many years with Paul McCartney.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. All right, you forced my hand there a little bit. It won't happen again, though.
All right, so I got three. I have three John songs. I have 2 George, 1 Paul, and you have what? You have 1 Ringo.
1 Ringo. I have 3 Georges, and I have 3 Johns, and 1 Paul. I know what you're doing. You're setting this up so that you can say that the fact that it's so easy to pick from Paul's catalog means he wins. And I'm not letting you have that. The fact that we're both comfortable sitting back because there's way more to pick from in the Paul catalog doesn't make it the better catalog. I'm just stating that now, so you don't get to just reflexively you're gonna have to defend it to use it. I'm just telling you now.
It's not really about that. Well, the thing about it is, for many years, the Paul thing was something where I was coming from the defensive angle on. So now that Paul is getting his due, I think more than he ever has, then I'm not as concerned about that. But for many years, I just had to. I felt like I had to stand up for Paul, which is ridiculous. So no, I'm not worried about that. It's not. I love the Beatles. When somebody asks me who my favorite Beatle is, if they don't force me to pick one of them, my answer is my favorite Beatle is not Ringo, meaning all the other, George, John, Paul, George, those are my favorite Beatles. So I don't differentiate that much between them.
I will drop the whole subject if you will at least agree that Paul was the least cool Beatle. That even Ringo is cooler than Paul.
I guess I've never concerned myself with it. They're all pretty cool to me, so
I'm not saying he isn't cool. I'm saying he's the least cool Beatle. That Ringo had a little more swag than Paul ever had. George had the silent swag, which ended up being the most potent swag, and John's swag, I don't know. I mean, it's larger than life. There's no Paul swag, man. It's just not. It just wasn't cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I see it that way, but you know.
All right, I'm down. Yeah.
Okay. I probably should go with a Paul song now, I suppose. Let me see here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take, maybe I'm amazed, but I'm taking the Wings Over America version,
Yeah.
but it'll count toward my. So
Yeah,
that
I
is
can see.
second.
I can see it.
Yeah,
That does buy you some cover. It's not going to work. It does. You're forcing me back to take another Paul here. I do have to protect my territory a little here, so I'm going to listen to what the man said from Venus and Mars, which not the greatest album in the world. I would say it does have that era did also produce Junior's Farm, which is really really good. Why he thought it wasn't good enough for Venus and Mars, I don't know, but I guess he still did a lot of singles back then. Um, Venus and Mars doesn't have a ton of great crap on it, but listen to what the man said is fucking great. Incredible. And one of the last songs in which a saxophone sounded genuinely cool. Certainly one of the very few songs where a soprano saxophone sounds cool. That takes some doing. So I'm glad I grabbed it. Listen to what the man said from 1975.
All right. Sounded very DJ-like there.
Yeah, I was.
Listen to what the man said from 1975.
I do very distinctly remember that song being on WLS AM. That song sounds amazing on AM radio. I don't know how to convince you of that, but that's what YouTube needs. YouTube needs videos where people can find like the last 2 or 3 stations doing music on AM radio and puts the audio up there so you can hear how different these songs all sound played on AM radio. This was one of the best AM radio songs ever. Anyway, I digress.
We're going all the way back to 1975.
1970 was a little dog named Snuckles. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good choice. I like that choice.
I think I just nerfed Venus and Mars for you. That was you forced my hand, son.
But I don't feel like I have to take anything from Venus and Mars. But I do. Well, yeah. I'm just going to leave that be for right now.
All
right. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go. I mean, with Double Fantasy, there are definitely a few options, but I have one that I'm very partial to, so I'm gonna make that my next pick for a John pick, and I'm gonna go with Watching the Wheels because that really is one of my very favorite John solo songs.
That was on my list. That does take something off the board for me that I really wanted. Well, that's gonna hurt a little later. I have to just on defense, and I'd be shocked if this one's on your list, but I'm gonna take it just for myself here. I'm gonna take Ringo Starr's cover of "You're 16, You're Beautiful and You're Mine." I had that record on a 45. That back then you could buy records at Osco Drug. I believe ours was bought at Osco Drug. But it was on Apple Records. I remember putting it on as a kid. I remember just seeing that record spin around so many times because I played that 45 over and over and over again. I still love it. And every Beatle got to have like a masterpiece vocal performance, but Ringo never really got to do like a rocking vocal performance with the Beatles, like in a marquee setting. And they might have missed out because he can do it. I thought his vocal performance was great. So you're 16 from Ringo.
So, okay, definitely a song that was not on my list, but interesting story because there is a parallel to your story and my story with the first records, I listened to as a kid,
Yeah.
because Yellow Submarine was one of the first, if not the first 45s that I ever had when I was a little
Right.
kid. And
Hmm.
I'm talking I was probably 3 years old, and that had the same label, the apples spinning around. So I
Yeah.
also have the same visual of that.
Yep.
Um, but a different song than yours, but a Ringo song nonetheless. So you know,
Yeah, I'm definitely had to get in there and take. Year 16 is nobody's idea of art, but Ringo was a music lover. I think his solo career, if I was really to sum it up, like it's not his solo records that ended up being important. It's his like all-star rock band. He just loves music and loves to play and loves to be around musicians and loves the music of his youth still. And um, he's I just think he's a can be he's finds joy in music in a way that like everybody knows that George Harrison found joy in music, but people don't give any sort of the same woo woo to Ringo. And I don't know, Ringo wasn't like a joke. He wasn't a punchline. He was a music lover who made some of the greatest music ever made. Like I don't know. I get tired of him sort of getting joked, treated like he wasn't a great singer. He wasn't a great songwriter. He didn't need to be. So anyway, I do love that record, Year 16, and I love Photograph
well,
too.
one thing about that, you're done with Ringo now. You've finished
Yeah,
Ringo.
I had to, and I've left you everything you probably wanted anyway.
Yeah, and well, not necessarily, because I definitely would have liked to have had Photograph, but this does mean that you're done with Ringo. I haven't started with Ringo. My last two picks can be Ringo songs because I know I don't have to do anything
Yeah,
with Ringo.
that's
So
true. That is true. It's
so
that.
you have freed me up in a lot of ways with that.
Not as much as you think. You're about to find out how freed up you are.
All right. Well, okay. So I do get to focus on the other three, so that's good. Um. All right. Okay. We've talked about this already, and I'm thinking maybe you weren't necessarily going to target this very high, but I do want this song. I want to make sure I have it. And yeah, I don't think it was necessarily that this was too not good enough to include on Venus and Mars. I think it was just because it was a single. But anyway, I'm going with Junior's Farm because that's a good little rocker that I think I need to have on my list.
Yeah, that's one of he did make some great singles. Paul McCartney did. I'm trying to think the last single that he made. I think may not count as a single because it was "Spies Like Us" from the movie. It was on a soundtrack that has never come out on CD. I don't know why that drives me nuts. It's not on the streaming services either. Damn it! And I'm trying to make a complete Paul playlist,
Ah,
and they just made that like a couple years ago. They made an amazing Paul solo compilation. It's the one where it's a picture of him filmed against like his face blocking out the light, and he's got the beard. It's beautiful, beautifully packaged. And there's like a deluxe version that has like 50 songs of his. It has almost everything. And I was like, come on, does it have Spies Like Us? Damn it! So they can because if you if you have an earworm of Spies Like Us, like what can you do? So
yeah.
anyway, yeah,
It
that was
is
his
an
last
earworm.
great single.
It's definitely an earworm. And if you take out the lyrics, because the
Yeah.
lyrics are all about spies like us, it is pretty. It would be a pretty good like if you could replace the lyrics or enjoy it as an instrumental. I think it would work so much better.
Yeah. It's a good song. All right. Well, you got one of the last great McCartney solo singles. I'm going to. You forced my hand on Double Fantasy. I'm picking just like starting over, although you got the better of the choices with watching the wheels, which we maybe let's not talk about right now because it did play a role in his death. And it does always have it was a sad and maudlin sounding record to begin with, and the fact that Mark David Chapman was triggered by that is just one of the weirdest, most fucked up things. But I know Imagine's great and all that, but that is really an amazing, amazing song. You got the winner there. I'm going to take Just Like Starting Over, because even though it's kind of a schmaltzy, like 50s thing, we talked about that record when we talked about the Cars' first album, and John Lennon saying one of the things that made him want to go back and record and go back and start doing music again, and to in fact make Double Fantasy, was the Cars, and he thought the Cars did a great update of like the 50s style schmaltz. And I think of this as John Lennon's sort of like senior moment rendering of the Cars song, but it's such a well written melody, and it's just an interesting song, so I dig it. The reason I pick it here also is just to get my plug in. The B-side was Kiss 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 by Yoko Ono, and I know this because I bought this 45 when it came out. I loved the A-side, and my mom was a huge Beatles fan. She saw the Beatles a bunch of times when she was a kid at like Comiskey Park and the amphitheater and stuff. She was totally 100% on team John Lennon. She really disliked Yoko Ono, and I realized it was something I could do to aggravate her, was to flip over the John Lennon Just Like Starting Over and play Kiss 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 at top volume, like if I was grounded or something, because my mother literally detested Yoko Ono. And so I grew up thinking this music is like bad. But then of course, as I got older and started to listen to it, like I love Yoko Ono stuff. So the John Lennon, I'm going to put in Just Like Starting Over, in part because I love the flip side on the 7-inch, the Yoko Ono from Double Fantasy, which I don't expect anybody to love Yoko. Like I said at the top, I don't expect anybody to love her. I understand why people don't dig her, but her songs stand up. And if you go listen to, not Plastic Ono Band, what one is hers? The Ono Plastic Band? That's a really good album. And John Lennon plays his ass off on that album. And people who diss Yoko, it's just not very creative. You're not trying very hard. So John Lennon, Just Like Starting Over.
All right. Okay, so I'm lagging on George stuff here. Let me take a look and see what I got. Yeah, I only have 2 George songs, so I'm gonna have to go get a George song here. Okay, so yeah, let me see. Wait on that. It might be time to crack open All Things Must Pass, I think.
All right.
I'm gonna get What Is Life.
Can't argue with the choice. Again, the reason we didn't have to go to All Things Must Pass is, without doubt, although I know you already disagree with this, it's the best Beatles solo record. Acknowledging that you feel otherwise.
Well, no, I don't necessarily feel otherwise. I would say there are 2. All Things Must Pass is definitely one of 2 I put above all the other ones. And the other one is Band on the Run.
Yeah, Band on the Run's the only real competition for this album.
I would say, to me, the best overall. I'm just give like a quick. I think I could probably give a quick top 5 off the top of my head. All Things Must Pass, Band on the Run, Ram, Plastic Ono Band. Then probably go with Imagine. That would probably be my top 5.
Yeah, I'd have to think a little bit about that. It's interesting that, like, of all the solo careers, like John Lennon's attitude, I think, survived and I think is still cool. And Paul, like you said, is finally getting his due. And Ringo, I think, when he's taken seriously, is given his due. He's just not often taken seriously enough. But like the stuff George Harrison did on All Things Must Pass is kind of how music ended up sounding. You know what I mean? Like it's taken the rock world like 30 or 40 years to really digest this record, and for how many generations end up finding this record and realizing, like, why didn't I know about this? I always felt that way about the All Things Must Pass when I was a kid. I think because it's a triple album, like not a lot of kids were maybe going to go buy it. I don't know. but I always felt like cheated that I wasn't told that like there was just this amazing triple album out there. I'm gonna make it my next choice. I'm taking the solo, I'm sorry, the title cut. I'm taking the song "All Things Must Pass" as my next. I have to now that the cherries popped.
Yeah, now that the seal's broken on that.
Yes, you've taken top shelf stuff in What Is Life, and I love the Phil Spector on that. By the way, I know people hate Phil Spector's production. How can you hate it? That just sounds amazing. Anyway,
Yeah, you can hate the player, but not the game. I think.
I am inclined to agree.
But yeah, it's great production. I know a lot about those sessions, and obviously, obviously Phil Spector was not. He was every bit as tough to work with as I would think most people would imagine.
Yeah,
and those sessions were no exception.
but he got a once in a lifetime record, which he's got like 10 times in his lifetime. That's why he's great.
Okay, so
Don't do it. Don't do it. I know what you're going to do. I what you're going to do.
I wonder if you do.
If you don't do it, I tell you, it is the thing I am going to do next.
I wonder what that could possibly mean. All right, let's see. I don't know. I'm torn here. I'm torn. All right. Well, you did get in my head because now I'm wondering.
Yes.
You did manage to get in my head.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know what you're cooking up. I don't think I'm on to you.
This is the end game. This is the end. After the next couple of Jenga pieces move, like it's over.
Yeah. All right. So let's recap. Let's do a quick recap since we're through 10. All right.
Yeah.
I have 4 John, 3 Paul, 3 George. What do you have?
Crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 John, 2 Ringo, 2 Paul, and 4 George.
Okay. All right. So I got to go with Paul. Actually, could you give me that again? Because I'm gonna keep track from now on.
OMG. I have 2 Ringos. I have 5 Johns, I believe here. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 4 Johns.
Yeah.
2 Ringos, 4 Johns, and I have 4 Georges and 2 Pauls. So I have to go heavy Paul here.
Yeah. So with that in mind, all right, let me see. So I have 3 Pauls and yeah, I'm gonna do this. A lot of choices, a lot of viable choices on Ram. I'm gonna go with my favorite song from Ram though, and I'm gonna go with Too Many People.
That's on my list. It's deep, but it's there. It's on my master list.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to be the next one, but I decided I'm just going to go just in case.
Okay, because I misread what you were going to do then, because I'm taking World Class Hero so that's going to be my Plastic Ono Band is going to be my 2 Lennon album. My Lennon album that I get 2 from.
All right.
And I think I have robbed you of the cream of that record. I got Mother and Working Class Hero. I mean, you can't. I'm forcing you to finish your Lennon list pretty much without Plastic Ono Band. I don't see how I don't have you cornered.
No, I disagree, but I'm not gonna pick one of them now because I don't have to. Like I can take a Plastic Ono song right before I take my Ringo songs now.
Yeah, I
And
know that, but you can't get the quality. There's no way that what you're going to pick is going to be of. It means the bottom of your playlist is going to flag. Bottom of my playlist has Working Class Hero in it, son.
I,
Now I
I,
have just Paul to
I,
pick from.
I will tell you, I guess I could just as well tell you what I'm going to pick from it, but I'm just going to wait until I do it. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'll tell you that right now.
You're
Okay,
triggered.
so all right, so you have 5 John songs then now?
Yep.
Okay.
And I haven't picked anything from. I've like 3 whole albums to pick from for him,
Yeah.
and I could take Cold Turkey. I could win
Yeah,
on
so
John.
you have 5, I have 4. John only has 3 more songs on the whole thing. Okay. Well, hell. All right, I'm gonna go 5th Paul song. I'm gonna go Live and Let Die.
Now that hurts because that was on my list too. Although it doesn't. It does also give you a little. You know what? That good on you, son. Good choice. You are forcing me back towards Paul here, so I'm gonna just quickly grab. Boy, am I gonna regret this? You know what? I don't think this is on your list, but I'm taking "Let Me Roll It" from Band on the Run.
Yeah, that was
Um,
on my list.
okay, yeah, I had to get at least because Band on the Run is going to be my double up for Paul, and I now have no bad choices left. So, yay!
Okay. Yeah, you left okay. All right, just a moment.
Look, because I could pick the big one later. The
Yeah.
question for me just was 1985 or "Let Me Roll It" as my deep cut.
Okay. Yeah, I have 5 Paul songs. I have 3 George songs and 4 John. All right, so
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm just gonna go ahead and close out All Things Must Pass, and I'm gonna get Isn't It a Pity?
Ah, that was what my next pick was. Damn. That's all right. There's
That's
the
right.
idea the idea though that closes out All Things Must Pass. That you have to be trying a head fake there because that's crazy talk. That's fuckery. No chance. No way. We'll see.
That's my second favorite song from All Things Must Pass.
It
It
doesn't.
is.
It closes it out, but it doesn't. It doesn't.
Well,
It closes out your context, son.
that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I was getting at. I
Mm-hmm.
can't take anything else from All Things Must Pass. I'm done with it. Therefore it closes it out.
All right. I have to try to. How many you've got, Paul? You know what? You don't. It doesn't matter what I do on Paul because you're gonna have something. I don't think I can close out any Paul stuff for you. Um, mm, and can you tell me again what your? Did you take something from Imagine yet?
I have not.
Boy, that's a tough one because there is some great stuff on that one, but no pick that I could take there because I never. It's so chintzy to go for the song. Imagine. I feel like I could do something here because didn't you say you liked Mind Games?
I took
Oh,
Mind Games.
you
Mind
took
Games is
Mind Games.
my 4th pick.
Oh yeah, because you don't like Meat City. Meat City's great. Um, shit, I better take a last. Do I really need to take a last, John? That's a tough call. You know what? I'm just going to do what you did, and I'm going to get my quota on All Things Must Pass done, and I'm going to grab Behind That Locked Door.
All right. Okay, so all right, so that's your 5th George song, right?
Yep. And I've closed out on All Things Must Pass.
All right. Okay, let me see what all right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up Paul, and I'm gonna take Jet.
Yeah, hard to argue with, although, yeah, I don't know. I had it. I could have taken Jet, but if you could pick his like great singles, he's got all those great radio songs. I don't know. Band on the Run is the only chance you really have to grab some deep stuff that's just top shelf shit. So yeah, all I'm gonna end up with Band on the Run is gonna end up being Let Me Roll It in 1985. But so what? Those are both great. I'll just take it now. Get it out of the way. I'm gonna take 1985 from Band on the Run.
Well, look, I mean, the thing about it is, depending on the rules,
Yeah.
I could have gone with Mrs. Vanderbilt and been happy with that too if I'd have got stuck with that. It wouldn't have really bothered me. But yeah, as it is. I mean, I can recap this now because I'm done with Paul. My Paul songs are Band on the Run, Maybe I'm Amazed, Junior's Farm, Too Many People, Live and Let Die, and Jet.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard to top that.
I think I did. I'm sorry. Yeah, great list, son. You're up.
Okay. All right. Well, this has already been mentioned. This is like the one thing that maybe we're both vying for, but I don't think we're vying for the same song from Imagine. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and take my Imagine pick now. And let me see. This is gonna be my 5th John song. So I'm going to take Give Me Some Truth.
All right. I'm going to close out John, and this is a bit of a weird. I'm going to take yeah, should I do that? I'm going to take Nobody Told Me from Milk and Honey. And I'm going to close out John with that.
Okay.
I love that song. That's all.
All right. So, yeah. Okay. So you're closed out on John. You have
Ringo.
Yeah, and Ringo, and you have a lot of Paul.
I have one more George I have to take, and it can't be from All Things Must Pass. That's really the only hurdle I have here, and I think I'm over it.
Boy, this is I kind of, let me see here. Okay. There's 3 more George songs. It's actually kind of a luxury. All right, so wait a minute. The math can't be right here because I have 5 more songs. I have 3 George songs, 2 Ringo songs. That can't be right. Because I still need 1 John song. So okay. I have 2 more George songs. God. Yeah, it's too much of a luxury. I was ready to dig a lot deeper than I had to for this draft.
And
okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and God, this is kind of unfortunate in a way, because it's just okay. So anyway, yeah, I mean okay, so I did have another song from Living in the Material World that I was perfectly happy with. In the eventuality that I didn't get "Give Me Love," which happened that way because you picked it right away. So I'm gonna go ahead and take "Be Here Now," which was my other song from "Living in the Material World."
Interesting.
But that only allows me one more George song, so that's kind of unfortunate because I have many more to pick from.
Yeah. I'm going to take. I just got to get George because this is a left field pick, but it's one of those songs in his catalog I liked. I think it's from his last record. It's called Marwa Blues.
Okay.
I like that song, and I think I heard like a demo of it or something that I prefer to the album version. But I at this point I'm kind of dragging ass on George's catalog, so we're just going to take the version from that last album. I think it was his last solo album.
It
So
was,
Marwa Blues.
and it was a very good album. And it was an album I had quite a few songs I could have picked from it. And as it things are looking, I am not going to take anything from that album, which is unfortunate because it was a very good album, a very overlooked and underrated album.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to end up with anything from it because the song that I think I want the most is actually from the Wilburys album, and that is "Heading for the Light."
Mm. All right. Well, we got out of George was the tough one here. George was the tough one here.
I had a harder time. I had a harder time with John. I ended up getting the songs that I wanted from John. If you would have forced me to dig deeper on it, I would have had a harder time with John. But as it is, I didn't really get my hand wasn't forced.
All right. Well, I only have two more that I have to do, and they're both Paul. So I don't know what you have left.
I have one John and two Ringos left.
One John and two Ringos left. All right. You're up.
I am up. You picked your 18th?
Hold on. Yeah, I just picked Marwa Blues.
Okay, that was your 18th. I
Yeah.
thought that was before I picked Heading for the Light.
Wait a minute. I did Nobody Told Me, then Marwa Blues, and then you did?
Yeah, I thought so.
Then I'm up?
I picked Be Here Now for my 16th.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, then I'm up, and I'm gonna take Mull of Kintyre by Wings, which I think was a single, wasn't it?
Not sure. Not totally sure.
It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't understand. I'm guessing that's Scottish or something. I don't know. It's something from the UK. I think. I know they like that song very much. There's stuff I don't understand about their history, and it's just a beautiful song. Like it doesn't. I think there's a sentimental attachment to it in England or the United Kingdom that I can't necessarily feel. Although I do love English Rose by The Jam. That one I totally feel. That one you do become a little Anglophile from that one. I didn't get that from Mull of Kintyre, but God, it's a great song. And who could write a sing along sea shanty and get it on the radio other than him? So good on you, you know.
All right, so you still have more Paul to do, right?
I have one more Paul.
Okay, all right. I was just about to close out what we didn't get to for Paul. All right, this is my last John song, and yeah. So I'm gonna. This is my Plastic Ono Band song, and it's Between Isolation and Look at Me, and that's a tough one. I don't know which one to go with. Let me see. I still could take two from Imagine. I could go with Jealous Guy. I'm gonna go with Jealous Guy.
Yeah, Jealous Guy I think is a borderline. I mean, that was demoed for the White Album with I can't remember what the original version was, but Jealous Guy is one of the greatest songs ever written.
Yeah, it's tough not to go with that one, but then that does mean I don't have a single song from Plastic Ono Band, which wasn't really my intention.
Yeah, I know I couldn't be prouder of myself. It because I think you and I both I think that's a gem. I think that's like an actual people could pull it out right now, listen to it, and it would help clear their thinking. I think it's like a relevant album. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna grab from 1980. I believe is when it was on the radio. I don't know why this, and I don't know how, but coming up from the McCartney 2 album, I don't remember being a huge hit until the live version came out. And I'm trying to remember if the live version was before the record or not, but it was recorded in Glasgow in 1979. It was a single. The live version was, and I don't. It's I don't know. It's not dramatically different than the studio version, but it is dramatically superior. The live version of Coming Up, I don't think any Super Paul fans ever go back and pine about how great Coming Up is, but I love that song. And I so distinctly remember I loved model trains as a kid. I had a little space in the basement where I had my model train set. I could just remember as clear as a day, listen, hear that song being on the radio, just, cold Chicago winter. And I loved that song then. I love it now. And just on the McCartney 2 reissue, they finally put out that live from Glasgow version that was on the radio, at least in Chicago at the time. It's fantastic. So the live recording of Coming Up for me is my closeout, Paul.
Okay. All right. Okay, so it's my 2 Ringo songs are coming up now. And my first of those was a single, and that is It Don't Come Easy. Ideally, if I were to have the perfect Ringo draft, which I did not, I would have had It Don't Come Easy and Photograph, but at least I got one of them.
Yeah. You're going to have... So I have to do one more John, and I'm trying to... You took... You went with Plastic Ono Band, right?
No, Plastic Ono Band ended up being the only thing I didn't have anything from.
Oh, that'd be the only thing you didn't have anything from. Okay.
Or not the only thing, but I didn't have anything from Plastic Ono Band, which is unfortunate. But I had to go with Jealous Guy.
And I can't just pick all of John's songs must be John writing credit, right?
No. No. We would have had a minimum, but basically our minimum just ended up being on Ringo, that there had to be one Ringo songwriting credit.
I know it's criminal to pick a cover when you're talking about some of the greatest songwriters of all time, but I love John Lennon's version of Stand By Me a lot, and I want that to be the last on my list.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That was the only cover I would have taken from any, that I would have picked from any of the other 3.
George Harrison's cover of Mama, You've Been on My Mind from the Early Takes album, I think is possible.
Yeah, it's possible, but I didn't need to dig very much for any of George stuff, any George songs.
I did. Yeah,
I really feel very, very strong about my draft.
Wait. Was your last Ringo No song or not?
No.
Oh.
No, my last Ringo song is going to be his cover of Golden Blunders from a Posey song that he covered. I think maybe just like a year or 2 after they released it. So I don't know how it ended up in his hands, but he covered a Pixies or a Posey song very early on, and that's what I'm going to go with my other Ringo song.
All right, so let's talk about what didn't make it. The big one I have to think is My Sweet Lord, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot on All Things Must Pass that was good enough to pick. I mean, Beware of Darkness,
Yeah.
Wah Wah, Waiting on You All, Let It Roll, Ballad of Frankie Crisp.
Yeah.
Uh,
Rough.
yeah, I think. Yeah, I want to probably pick that one so much, but you didn't pick a single damn song from Ram, right?
Yeah. Too Many People would have been the only one I would consider
Oh man, so many good.
eligible. No. No,
Yeah,
I like Another Day, but that's contemporaneous. That's not from that album.
yeah, but that's one that got left off of both of ours. Another Day, but Dear Boy, um,
I
part of the.
almost took Dear Friend from Wildlife.
Let's see what else.
Almost.
Helen Wheels didn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Silly Love Songs didn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken that
Fine
one.
by Me.
Arrow Through Me.
Yeah, but again, we've avoided that conversation. Back to the Egg is other than the Two Virgins album is probably the worst solo Beatles album.
Okay, first of all, I'm not saying it's a good album, but it has Arrow Through Me, which is a good song.
I agree.
It has Getting Closer, which is a good song. So by virtue of just having two good songs on it, I don't think it really can be.
Paul McCartney was out of ideas, and that album is proof.
All right, well, I mean, it's for one thing, it's better than Gon Troppo.
I will have that put on your headstone, sir.
So I don't know. I think by virtue of just having a couple of good songs, it can't be the worst.
All right. I defy you to listen to it.
Yeah, well, I will. I mean, for those two songs, I'll listen to it.
All
But
right.
I mean, there are George songs or George albums that only have one good song on them, and then there's like Gon Troppo, which doesn't really have anything on it. And then, I don't even know if I want to have this conversation because it's like I'm trashing, artists that I like a lot. So I don't know, I don't know that I want to do that, but they all have their clunkers, and to have two good songs on it, I think you're doing better than some.
All right. Okay.
So
I mean, if Arrow Through Me was his first demo that he cut and sent it into every record label in the world in 1979, he would have not been called back by one.
doesn't really matter. That's kind of irrelevant to the argument.
Oh, that's not true. But I will accept that you like what you like.
Well, okay. You like Arrow Through Me, right?
Yeah, I love Arrow Through Me. Erica Badu loves Arrow Through Me.
So we don't really disagree. It's just that you think it can have Arrow Through Me. I mean, sure, it can have Arrow Through Me and still be a bad album. That's true. I'm not arguing that. But to say it's the worst, I think you're definitely downgrading it. You're not doing the proper comparison there.
Well, some Beatles solo album has to be the worst.
Well, okay, but I don't think it's that one.
All right.
I think you can definitely
It's
find
in the
one.
mix. It's in the mix. It's his biggest clunker, I think.
I don't even know if that's true.
Well, that means he must have a absolute stinker in there somewhere that I can't recall.
Again, it has two good songs on it, and maybe more because I don't even know how much I've really listened to the rest of it. I basically cherry pick the two songs I like from it and then leave the rest, but I might be forgetting one or two from there. I don't even know. Okay, so for John, Isolation and Look at Me were two songs I definitely wanted, but didn't have to dig for them, and didn't end up with them.
Wait, did the song Imagine actually make it?
No.
Neither did Give Peace a Chance, didn't either.
No.
Which is a great song. I mean, there's I think Cold Turkey's great.
Neither of us Yeah, Cold Turkey. Yeah,
I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. Well, well, well. Those are two that I love. From Plastic
good
Ono Band.
good songs. I would say the thing about those songs, I don't think they, for me anyway, they don't seem to hold up as well as the songs that I chose. The songs that I ended up with are songs I think that hold up the strongest. Um, I think, and obviously, Imagine is still a relevant song. I'm not saying that at all, but was so big that it's kind of hard to pick in a way.
Mm. Do you remember? Do you remember when they found that video of John's last concert? I think was it like at Madison Square Garden in like the mid '90s or '80s? Do you remember that?
No.
They put out like a live album of his. Boy, he did a version of Come Together then that was so good. I couldn't find it on Spotify. I wanted to include that.
Well, you can include that. That's a Beatles song that wouldn't have been eligible.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So,
That was his song, man. Come on. I get it.
Something was George's song. It wouldn't have been eligible. Okay, so another thing, neither of us took anything from Cloud Nine. I would have been happy to take When We Was Fab, but
yeah, I almost did.
yeah, in hindsight, like, I don't know, it is tough because there were quite a few George songs that I didn't want to leave on the table, but it ended up being that I had to, because in a way I was kind of a little bit too fortunate, I guess, because I really kind of wanted to dig for some songs I didn't have to.
Would you have allowed me to pick Come and Get It by Badfinger as a Paul song?
I don't think I would have, no. Because the only thing that you could have picked that would have maybe been a Paul song is his demo of it, which was on the Beatles anthology.
Yeah,
But
it was always
you know,
just him as a songwriting credit, though. That was never a Lennon and McCartney song.
but it isn't really just about the songwriting credit, though.
And how about George on? Because one of the greatest things any Beatle did was George's slide work with Badfinger.
Well, I mean, we've already been over this. I mean, it really has to be something that's in his name, and that wasn't in his name. He wasn't,
All right. Well, I just wanted to mention it because I do enjoy it.
And as it is, there obviously was never any reason to dig that deep.
Yeah, you're more optimistic about his catalog than I am. I am proud of myself that I was pulled up Dark Lady. Are you kidding me? Damn.
I think it's, in a way, it's kind of a shame that, like, When We Was Fab is left on the table, and everything other than Marwa Blues from Brainwashed. That's kind of unfortunate that all of that gets left on the table. But yeah, I mean, Imagine gets left on the table. Another Day gets left on the table.
How Do You Sleep gets left on the table.
How Do You Sleep? Again, though, I think that's more, that doesn't hold up quite as well as some. But that's, I guess, a matter of opinion. Should we do a quick recap of our picks?
Yeah, sure. You go first.
Right. Okay. All right. So my first pick was Paul, Band on the Run. Second pick, George, All Those Years Ago. George again on number 3 with Dark Horse. Fourth, fifth, and sixth were John picks for me. Mind Games, number 9, Dream, and Instant Karma. Seventh, I went with Paul's Maybe I'm Amazed, which is the version from Wings Over America. And Watching the Wheels from John was my number 8 pick. Junior's Farm, my number 9 pick from Paul. George, 10, What is Life? Paul, number 11, Too Many People from Ram. Live and Let Die from Paul, number 12, single. Isn't It a Pity from George, my second All Things Must Pass pick. And 14th was Jet from Band on the Run for Paul. Give Me Some Truth from John from Imagine. George, 16 and 17, heading for the light, or Be Here Now from Living in the Material World, and Heading for the Light from Traveling Wilburys, 17th. John with Jealous Guy from Imagine, 18th. Ringo, It Don't Come Easy, and Ringo again, number 20, Golden Blunders.
It is troubling that Imagine didn't make it. It is a great song. I just don't listen to it all that often, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's kind of where I was coming from, I guess.
I respect it more than I like it. All right, I picked Ringo Starr's Photograph first, which I feel is, I mean, it never has going first meant more. Then I grabbed Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth from Living in the Material World by George Harrison. Also, just so glad I was able to snag that one. It made life so much easier for me down the road. Let 'Em In by Wings, Traveling Wilburys, Handled with Care, all-time great George song. Mother by John Lennon, I think probably the bravest song I've ever heard anybody try to do. Dark Sweet Lady from George Harrison, that was my only real desperation pick there. I felt the walls closing in. Instant Karma. I'm sorry, you grabbed Instant Karma. I got to remove that from my list. That's where it was going to go. Damn.
Trying to steal my pick.
Damn. Yeah, I'm here to steal your pick. John Lennon, I picked Whatever Gets You Through the Night from Walls and Bridges with Elton John. Classic. And then Listen to What the Man Said. Almost makes the soprano saxophone cool. It is that good. Year 16, Ringo, Just Like Starting Over for John, with a shout out to Yoko. And then All Things Must Pass, title track. Oh, God, that song's good. Even the Beatles demo, I mean, God, the fact that they had that and didn't do something with it is unbelievable. Working Class Hero from Plastic Ono Band, Let Me Roll It. I guess I should have picked Jet, but I got Let Me Roll It and 1985 from Band on the Run. I'm not ashamed of that.
No, it's not bad.
No, I'll take those two. And then
But yeah, I did get to. I got both of the huge guns. You know, like
you got the A sides though. You got the A sides, son.
I got the bazookas from Band on the Run.
Well, I have a Band on the Run sandwich. It goes, Let Me Roll It is the top bread, 1985 is the bottom bread, and in the middle is that very thinly sliced George Harrison's Behind That Locked Door. Below the sandwich, I got John Lennon's Nobody Told Me from Milk and Honey, which is kind of an unreleased track, but boy, to have that one sitting around, holy moly. Marwah Blues, Mulligan Tire, the live version of Coming Up from the McCartney 2 era, and then John Lennon's Stand By Me, which is just one of the all-time best covers of all time. So, wow, we really did pretty well, actually, even though leaving Imagine off, probably we would lose street cred, I think, for not having Imagine on either of our lists, but haters are going to hate.
Depends on the street.
That's true. That's true. All right, I think we did yeoman's work.
Yeah, I think we could have at least gone to 25 without much trouble, and maybe 30.
Certainly, if I could have had loosened restrictions on All Things Must Pass, because I could have gone another probably 4 or 5 deep on that album. I might have been able to do it, yeah.
I would have been happy though to get When We Was Fab.
Yeah. After that, what's left though, really?
Brainwash, but you did take something from Brainwash, but I had more to go. So
yeah, all right. Well, I'm proud of us.
Yeah, we did good. And we'll have our lists up on Spotify before you know it.
We surely will. I don't know if we've picked our topic for next week.
No, yeah, the way things are these days, it might be a play it by ear sort of thing.
How about a Kenny Loggins banality draft?
Where do you go after the Caddyshack theme? Where do you go?
Top Gun, Over the Top. You have his duets.
I don't recall any song from Over the Top. What was that song? Was it called Over the Top?
Probably. What was the one that's Meet Me Halfway is from Top Gun, right?
Maybe.
Footloose?
I don't
You got the
remember.
Footloose soundtrack?
Sure, Footloose. That's right.
That's the soundtrack king.
I think this discussion right here is all we need. We don't need to actually have a draft.
All right. Well, I tried.
We just need to have this little talk where we discuss the.
The career of Kenny Loggins.
That's right.
Out of the car, long hair. All right. All right. Well, that was my suggestion. I'm open to any of yours. I don't know, I guess it could also be a surprise.
Yeah. Well, yeah. At this point, I think it will be.
I think it will be. I think let's stay flexible given the world situation. Having
That's right.
maximum flexibility these days probably has significant benefit.
We do not want to be back on our heels in these times.
No. So we'll come correct. We'll come strong. We're giving you quality solo Beatles. We're going deep. I think we've done our work here this week. I promise we'll bring it next too.
We'll see you next week.